Residential Report Writing and Case Studies. Chapter 2. Current versions of forms. When Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac revised their appraisal reporting forms in 2005, they helped appraisers comply with USPAP by including certain language that was lacking in earlier versions of the forms. However, the ASB has stated that forms do not comply with USPAP. Appraisers comply with USPAP. Therefore, the appraiser is responsible for providing the content and level of detail required by USPAP and must supplement the Fannie Mae forms whenever necessary. While the forms can be helpful, they require our skillful use and proper supplementation in order to ultimately result in a USPAP compliant appraisal report. The substantive content of the report will determine compliance. Also, SR 2-2 reminds us that only gives us the minimum information required for each of the reporting options. The appraiser is free to provide more information than the minimum required. Generally speaking, we will not get our clients or ourselves in trouble by providing too much information. On the other hand, providing too little information is never good. Advisory Opinion AO-36 and the confidentiality section of the ethics rule gives us more information regarding clients, intended users, and an appraiser's obligations to these parties. In brief, just remember that lots of people may end up with a copy of your appraisal report. However, as we consider the available reporting options and the content and level of detail required, we only need to consider the needs of our client and other intended users. We do not have a responsibility to consider the needs of all the other parties who could possibly receive a copy of their appraisal report. Another brief quiz is next. End of page. Number 1, as part of an appraisal assignment, Kara has completed a subject property sales history and current listing and agreement analysis. In her restricted appraisal report, she must blank this information. A, describe. B, summarize. C, omit, or D, none of the above. I'm going to go with B, summarize. Number 2, what is the role of Advisory Opinion 11 with regard to appraisal reporting? A, sets forth binding requirements that appraisers must follow. B, establishes additional requirements that have the force of law. C, provides guidance and advice. Or D, sets forth requirements that only apply to narrative reports. Damn, this one's hard. It's either C or D, but I'm going to go on a limb and just say, I'm going to go C. No, yeah, I'm going to go C. Number 3, what are the operative words that establish the differences between the two USPAP written report options? A, complete, limited. B, summarize and state. C, form and narrative. Or D, extraordinary assumption and hypothetical condition. I'm going to go with B, summarize and state. Assessment completed. You got 100%. You needed 66%. Chapter 2, Summary. In this chapter, we covered an appraiser's basic obligations when reporting an appraisal. The report must be meaningful to the client and intended users and not be misleading. Also, the report must contain sufficient information so that intended users may properly understand it. Assumptions, extraordinary assumptions, and hypothetical conditions must be clearly and accurately disclosed. We began this chapter by taking a look at Standards Rule 2-2, which sets forth minimum content requirements for appraisal reports and restricted appraisal reports. The essential difference between these report options is the level of detail provided. We compared and contrasted the different report options and provided examples of the level of detail that is inherent in each. Finally, we addressed some of the pitfalls of using pre-printed forms as reporting vehicles. What's next? Another chapter-ending quiz. Click here if you would like to open this chapter as a PDF, which you can then print and save to your device. Chapter 2, end of page. This quiz has a total of 10 questions. Start quiz. Number 1, Brett prepares a written report labeled appraisal report. However, the level of information is not consistent with the requirements of such a report. He sends the report to his client. Which statement is true regarding this situation? A, he has violated USPAP by communicating a misleading report. B, he should resend the report in a different format. C, he should not have used a form to prepare his report. Or D, as long as Brett's value opinion is credible, the client has not been misled. I'm going to go with he has violated USPAP by communicating a misleading report. A. Number 2, Standards Rule 2-1 applies to A, both written and oral real property appraisal reports. B, written reports only. C, oral reports only, or D, narrative reports only? I'm going to go with B, written reports only. Number 3, an appraiser is preparing an appraisal report. What is the operative word regarding the level of detail she must provide in the report? A, summarize. B, explain. C, describe. Or D, state. I'm going to go with A, summarize. Number 4, what is the essential difference between the two reporting options specified in USPAP Rule 2-2? A, the level of detail in the report. B, the amount of analysis required. C, the thickness of the appraisal work file. Or D, an appraisal report has more than 12 required report elements. I'm going to go with A, the level of detail in the report. Number 5, as part of an appraisal assignment, Kara has completed a subject property sales history and current listing and agreement analysis. In her restricted appraisal report, she must blank this information. A, describe. B, summarize. C, omit. Or D, none of the above. I think the answer was state. And I don't see it in here, so I'm going to put none of the above. Number 6, Nancy is completing an appraisal for a client and 2 additional intended users. Which of these is not a permissible option for her when preparing her report? A, narrative appraisal report. B, appraisal report. C, restricted appraisal report. Or D, none of the above answers are correct. I'm going to go with C, restricted appraisal report. Number 7, a party who receives a copy of an appraisal report in order to satisfy disclosure requirements becomes an intended user. A, true. B, false. I'm leaning towards false. Number 8, Standards Rule 2-1 states that assumptions, extraordinary assumptions, and hypothetical conditions must be blank. A, included in an addendum to the appraisal report. B, clearly and accurately disclosed, C, pre-printed on the report form, or D, agreed upon with the client prior to the assignment? I'm going to go with B, clearly and accurately disclosed. Number 9, USPAP Standard 2 establishes blank requirements for real property appraisal reports. A, maximum. B, minimum. C, no. Or D, optional. I'm going to go maximum, A. Number 10. What are the operative words that establish the differences among the two USPAP written report options? I'll read it again. What are the operative words that establish the differences among the two USPAP written report options? A, form and narrative. B, summarize and state. C, form and letter. Or D, extraordinary assumption and hypothetical condition. I'm going to go B, summarize and state. Finished. Assessment completed. Oh, you failed. God damn it. You got a 70%. You needed a 75. You can try again. You can review the chapter info, or you can correct questions. I'm going to go to correct questions. Number 1. Let me see. Which one's... Okay, you got number 1 right. Brett prepares a written report labeled appraisal report. However, the level of information is not consistent with the requirements of such a report. He sends the report to his client. Which statement is true regarding this situation? You put, he has violated USPAP by communicating a misleading report. That is correct. You missed number 2, I guess, because it's not in here. Number 3, an appraiser is preparing an appraisal report. What is the operative word regarding the level of detail she must provide in the report? You put summarize, and that is correct. Number 4, what is the essential difference between the two reporting options specified in USPAP Standards Rule 2-2? You put the level of detail in the report. That is correct. Number 6, Nancy is completing an appraisal for a client and 2 additional intended users. Which of these is not a permissible option for her when preparing her report? You put restricted appraisal report, and that is correct. Number 7, a party who receives a copy of an appraisal report in order to satisfy disclosure requirements becomes an intended user. True or false? You put false, and you answered correctly. Number 8, Standards Rule 2-1 states that assumptions, extraordinary assumptions, and hypothetical conditions must be clearly and accurately disclosed. You answered that one correctly. Number 10, what are the operative words that establish the differences among the two USPAP written report options? You put summarize and state, and you answered correctly. Try again. Let me see.